Okay, students, so let's start chapter 10, 18th century political formations. During the first half of the 18th century, many significant developments took place in the subcontinent. The boundaries of the Mughal Empire were reshaped by the emergence of a number of independent kingdoms. In major parts of eastern India, another power, the British, had successfully gained control by 1765. Within a short span of time, the political scenario in the 18th century India changed quite dramatically. Second is powerful mansabdars and nobles. The later Mughal emperors found it increasingly difficult to keep a check on their powerful mansabdars. Nobles, appointed as governors, often controlled the offices of revenue and also the military administration. These gave them extraordinary powers in the political, economic, and military aspects of vast regions of the empire. There was a fall in the periodic remison of revenue to the capital because of the consolidation of control over the provinces by the governors. Next is peasants and zamindars. They added to the problems by rebelling in many parts of the northern and western India. These were caused by the pressures of mounting taxes, the attempts by the powerful chieftains to consolidate their own positions. Next is challenges by rebellious groups. Though such challenges existed even before, the current challenges were of a higher degree. In other words, the groups were successful in seizing the economic resources of the emperors of the regions to consolidate their positions. The successors of Aurangzeb failed to arrest the gradual shifting of political and economic authority into the hands of province. नहीं हुआ. Though the ruler of Iran, Nadir Shah, sacked and plundered the city of Delhi in 1739 and took away immense amount of wealth. A series of plundering raids by the Afghan ruler Ahmad Shah Abdali followed. He invaded North India 5 times between 1748 and 1761. Next is competition amongst different noble groups. These further weakened the already dwindling there. When the Mughal emperor's authority declined, the governors of large provinces, subedars, and the great zamindars consolidated their authority in different parts of the subcontinent. During the 18th century, the Mughal Empire gradually fragmented into a number of independent regional states. These states can be broadly divided into 3 overlapping groups. First, states that were old Mughal provinces. These included Awadh, Bengal, and Hyderabad. Though these were extremely powerful and quite independent, the rulers did not break their ties with the Mughal emperor. Second, states which had enjoyed considerable independence under the Mughals as Watan Jagirs. Rajput principalities were an example of these. And third, states under the control of the Marathas, Sikhs, and others like Jats. These were of differing size and had seized their independence from the Mughals after an armed struggle for a long time. The old Mughal provinces. 3 states stand out of the founder of Awadh, Burhan-ul-Mulk Sadat Khan, was appointed its Subedar in 1722. It was one of the most important states to emerge out of the breakup of the Mughal Empire. It had methodology to reduce Mughal influence. He managed to reduce the Mughal influence by the accounts of the Jagirdars were strictly checked to prevent cheating, and the revenues of all districts were reassessed by the officials appointed by the Nawab's court. He also says a number of Rajput Zamindaris and also the agriculturally fertile lands of the Afghans of Rohilkhand. The state was dependent on local bankers and Mahajans for loans. The right to collect tax was sold to the highest bidders. These revenue farmers, called ijardars, agreed to pay the state a fixed sum of money. The local bankers guaranteed the payment of these contract amount to the state. In turn, the revenue farmers were given considerable liberty in the assessment and collection of taxes. These developments led to new social groups like the moneylenders and bankers influencing the management of the state's revenue system for the first time. Now, under Murshid Quli Khan, Bengal broke away from Mughal control. He was appointed as the Naib, deputy to the governor of Bengal. Though he was never a Subadar, he very quickly seized all the power that went with that office. He also commanded the revenue administration of the state, like the rulers of Awadh and Hyderabad. Methodology to reduce Mughal influence, he managed to reduce the Mughal influence by transferring all Mughal Jagirs to Orissa, ordering a major reassessment of the revenues of Bengal. Revenue was collected from zamindars in cash with great strictness. These forced the zamindars to borrow money from bankers and money landlords. Moneylenders. The founder of Hyderabad state, Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah from 1724 to 1748, was one of the most powerful members in the court of the Mughal Emperor Farooq Siyar. Initially, he was entrusted with the governorship of Awadh and later he got the charge of the Deccan. During 1720 to 22, as the Mughal governor of the Deccan provinces, he had already gained control over its political and financial administration. He became the actual ruler of the region by taking advantage of the turmoil in the Deccan and the competition amongst the court nobility. Now, Asaf Jah's ruling methodology he brought not to speak. Now, Asaf Jah's brought skilled soldiers and administrators from northern India who welcomed the new opportunities in the south. He appointed mansabdars and granted jagirs. Though still a servant of the Mughal emperor, he functioned quite independently without seeking any directions from Delhi or facing any interference. The Mughal emperor merely confirmed the decisions already taken by him. Hyderabad was constantly struggling against the Marathas in the west and the Telugu warrior chiefs, Nayaks of the plateau. The upcoming powerful group, the British, checked Asaf Jah's ambition to control the rich textile producing areas of the Coromandel coast in the east. There are three common features in all these three states. Although many of the larger states were established by erstwhile Mughal nobles, they were highly suspicious of some of the administrative systems that they had inherited. Particularly, this was true about the Jagirdari system. Regarding tax collections, they contracted with revenue farmers for revenue collection. Instead of depending on the officers of the states, the practice of ijardari, which spread all over India in the 18th century, was disapproved of by the Mughals. There was an emerging relationship with rich bankers and merchants. These people lent money to revenue farmers, received land as security, and through their own agents collected taxes from these lands. Nagpur was conquered and annexed to the house of Jodhpur. Amber says many portions of Bundi. Savai Raja Singh founded his new capital at Jaipur. He was given the Subedari of Agra in 1722. There was severe pressure on these principalities by Maratha campaigns in Rajasthan from the 1740s. These checked their further expansion. The organization of Sikhs into a political entity in the 17th century helped in regional state building in Punjab. Guru Gobind Singh fought many battles against the Rajputs and Mughals, both before and after the institution of Khalsa in 1699. After his death in 1708, the Khalsa rose in revolt against the Mughal authority under Banda Bahadurs. अरे यार. The Khalsa rose in revolt against the Mughal authority under Banda Bahadur's captured 1715 and executed 1716 leadership. Declared their sovereign. In the 18th century, the Sikhs organized themselves into a number of bands called Jats. Jathas. Guru Gobind Singh had inspired the Khalsa with the belief that their destiny was to rule. Raj Karega Khalsa. They were a well knit organization and hence they could put up a tough and successful resistance to the Mughal governors and then to Ahmad Shah Abdali, who had seized the rich province of Punjab and Sarkar of Sri Hind from the Mughals. The Khalsa declared their sovereign rule by striking their own coin against in the year 1765. These coins also bore the same inscription that the coin during the time of Banda Bahadur bore. In the 18th century, the territories under the Sikhs extended from the Indus to the Jamuna, but they were divided under different rulers. Maharaja Ranjit Singh was one ruler who reunited these groups and established his capital at Lahore in 1799. Shivaji from 1627 to 1680. He carved out a stable kingdom with the support of powerful warrior families, Deshmukhs. The backbone of the Maratha army was the groups of highly mobile peasants, pastoralists. Under them, the Marathas developed a very successful military organization. Their success lay in bypassing the fortified areas of the Mughals by raiding cities, engaging Mughal armies in areas where their supply lines and reinforcements could be easily disturbed. The empire expanded between 1720 and 1761. It slowly chipped away at the authority of the Mughal Empire. By the 1720s, Malwa and Gujarat were seized from the Mughals. The Maratha king was recognized as the overlord of the entire Deccan Peninsula by the 1730s. He had the right to levy ch-10 and Sardeshmukhi in the entire region. After the raid in Delhi by the Marathas in 1737, the frontiers of the Maratha domination expanded fast into Rajasthan and Punjab in the north, into Bengal and Orissa in the east, into Karnataka and the Tamil Nadu and Telugu states in the south. Though these were not formally included in the Maratha Empire, they were made to pay tribute as a way of accepting Maratha sovereignty. Though the expansion brought enormous wealth, it came at a price. It made other rulers hostile towards the Marathas. Consequently, they were not inclined to support the Marathas in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. Ujjain expanded under Scindia's patronage and Indore under that of Holkar. These cities were large and prosperous by all accounts and functioned as important commercial and cultural centers. New trade routes emerged within the areas that were controlled by the Marathas. The silk produced in the Chanderi region found a new outlet in the city of Pune. Burhanpur, which had earlier participated in the trade between Agra and Surat, now expanded its hinterland to include Pune and Nagpur in the south and in the east, Lucknow and Allahabad. Now the Jats. The Jats were prosperous agriculturists. The towns like Panipat and Balabarg, Balabhagra, क्या लिखा है क्या? The Jats were prosperous agriculturists. The towns like Panipat and Balabhagra emerged as popular trading centers in the areas dominated by them. The Jats also consolidated their power during the late 17th and 18th centuries. They acquired control over the areas under their leader Churaman, the territory situated to the west of Delhi, and by the 1680s, the region between the two imperial cities of Delhi and Agra. The kingdom of Bharatpur emerged as a strong state under Surajmal. Many of the city's notables took refuge in Bharatpur when Nadir Shah sacked Delhi in 1739. His son Jawahir Shah, who had 30,000 troops of his own, managed to hire another 20,000 Maratha and 15,000 Sikhs to fight the Mughals. The Bharatpur Fort was built in a fairly traditional style. Here the Jats built an elaborate garden palace combining styles seen at Amber and Agra. Its buildings were modeled on sorry